Houston, we have a problem.
This is bullshit. I'm not listening to this. You are insane.
No, you're insane. You simply do not have time for this crap.
I'll use small words that you'll be sure to understand, you warthog-faced buffoon.
You shut your foul mouth!
Yeah, that's my message to you. Fuck you and kiss my ass.
You were just dumping a bag of hammers.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. May God have mercy on your soul.
You are now tuned in to Dusty Vision Radio.
Dusty Vision Radio, Super Audio Network. Sitting here with my boy, the man who makes it all happen, Drizzy Dre. What's up, Playboy? Oh,
How you doing?
Jesus,
How you
Dre.
feeling?
How long have you been doing this?
Too long.
Oh, gee, only 9 years.
How you feeling?
I'm feeling good, man. Feeling good. We're fresh off the Unopened Mic number 5.
5, man.
Dope. Make sure you check it out in our archives. Unopened Mic 5. Some funny comedians came and rocked it. Like every part of the planet you could think of was represented, in every sexual ethnicity and what's the word?
It was every gender, every race,
yeah.
every sexual preference.
It was
Walter brings the heat.
It was cracking.
The only people that were mad at was the guy I brought, but I'm gonna bring another one.
Well, guys, tonight we're gonna chat a little bit about the history of the Pachuco. You know, me, Drizzy Dre, grew up around Latinos. Pretty much, you know, East LA was my home for the most of my life, and I just adapted the culture, picked it up. Obviously, loved the women. Ended up marrying one. Thank you very much. And I just dive deep into this stuff, and I love hooking up with people who have knowledge about a lot of the history of the culture. And I'm gonna get it started, man. The Wartime Productions Board in 1942 thought it necessary to cut back on fabric consumption, so they enacted regulations on the amount of fabric used for suits.
What the hell?
This enactment targeted Pachucos in particular because of the excess fabric used in their zoot suits. Pachucos boldly chose not to follow these regulations, demonstrating rebellious attitudes and pride in their culture. Pachucos continued to flaunt zoot suits now attained through bootleg tailors. As a result, these flashy zoot suits were seen as unpatriotic by other Americans. This controversial series of events helped shape Pachuco culture, and zoot suits became a symbol of the cultural pride amongst Mexican Americans. And to get a little bit more into this and chat about the history of Pachuco, I have, ladies and gentlemen, Pachuco Sam. How are you, man?
All right, man. All right. How's it going?
It's going great. Going great. Thanks for joining the program, man.
Thank you, man. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, definitely. So, let's take it all the way back. I kind of would like to take it even back before the Pachuco lifestyle and kind of talk about how Mexican Americans were treated, you know, in this country in the early 1900s, just as bad as black people were treated. Give me an idea of what you know about the history of, you know, Latinos coming or Mexicans coming to this country, or I should say, being the country being taken from them, and then coming back, and how they were treated.
Well, we were here. You know, we've been here since the beginning. We go way back, but you know, the United States wanted to, you know, expand from sea to southern sea, so they took over. And you know, we were already here. I mean, most of what we consider the Southwest was already ours. I mean, we've been here in Texas, Colorado, New Mexico, Arizona, California. But yeah, we've been treated bad since the beginning. They've always wanted to extinguish us, to cast us out, per se, like they did the Native Americans and so forth. But yeah, you know, ever since the United States has occupied, I want to say occupied, or settled, or whatever they want to call it.
Stole.
We've had it pretty rough. I mean, even today, you know, with the president, I'm not going to get into that, but, you know, even in the 30s, they tried to do the same thing. I mean, you know.
Yeah, I mean, they were hanging Latinos in excess execution type shits in town, and more than they were doing it to white people, obviously.
Correct. I mean, even the Texas Rangers were created just for that.
Explain that.
Well, I don't know exactly when it happened. I want to say in the early 1900s. or in the mid 1900s. The Border Patrol. Well, there wasn't much of a Border Patrol back then, but the United States created this group called the Texas Rangers, which was made up of mostly, KKK members and stuff. So basically, what they did was round up and hang either blacks or Mexicans, lynched them, hanged them up, took pictures, made postcards, and sold them. Yeah. I mean, they're still around today. The Texas Rangers are actually still around today.
Yeah.
They're like sheriffs now. But that's how he started, actually. Was to get rid of the Mexicans, the Native Americans, and the blacks.
Damn.
And anybody else who they deemed, white, basically.
Yeah. I mean, there were literally signs that said no Mexicans, no blacks, no dogs. We were on the same sign with animals. That's crazy. And that led to let's kind of fast forward a little bit to the Pachuco. God damn, sorry, man. I just hit a joint. Okay. I apologize. The Pachuco culture, and it's safe to say that the origins of the dress came from the African American jazz scene, right?
Correct. Actually, there's a dispute between Harlem, New York, and Chicago.
Okay.
So as who was the first one to create the zoot suit? But the first one recorded in history was African American gentleman by the name of Harold C. Fox.
Mm-hmm. Georgia?
Yeah, he was a tailor. His name was Harold C. Fox.
Oh, okay. But was that Georgia?
From
the
Chicago.
State of, it was Chicago. Okay.
Yeah, from Illinois.
Okay.
He was from Chicago. He was a tailor, but he wanted to be a musician, so he started traveling to where, jazz was big back then, which was Harlem and New York, New Jersey areas and stuff. So back then, in the, I want to say late 20s, when jazz was at its height, the musicians wanted to wear like these outrageous costumes. But back then, what was like the prototype, the predecessor to the zoot suit was like a oversized tuxedo with a top hat. Mm-hmm. So he saw that, and when, he finished touring with his band, he came back home. Him and his daddy actually owned a tailor shop, and he decided he wanted to make a suit. So he basically got the idea from, from New York. But he's been credited to be the first man to actually tailor a zoot suit and sell it. It said that he actually sold his first zoot suit in 1938 in Chicago.
And what does a typical zoot suit attire consist of?
Well, it's an exaggeration. It's always been an exaggeration of suit. So he took, the length of it and made it longer, the coat's longer, the lapels are wider and bigger. The shoulder pads are exaggerated. They put extra cushion in the shoulder pads. The original zoot suits were actually made of wool. The pants were waistless. They don't have a waistline. The belt loops are dropped. There's a drop loop, and they have very deep pleats, which they're actually wide. They're like balloon pants, which I think the typical one is like 40 inches wide at the knee, and then it tapers down into a cuff, maybe to 6-7 inches, where you can barely put them on. They used to actually call the pants back then drapes, and really tight ones at the bottom, they used to call them ankle chokers.
Okay. Yeah.
So the original name for the suit was drapes in the East Coast.
Okay, I can see
and
that.
Then he came up with the name Zoot. Suit. He was a musician, so it kind of rhymes, with the jargon from back then, with the jazz talk and the
hey, get my zoot suit.
Yeah,
sounds like it would fit in. Yeah.
Actually, I don't know how much time we have, but he actually invented.
Oh, please go. We have about 35 minutes. So.
He actually invented the chain. And there's a story online somewhere. I gotta look for it. I read it some years ago, where he made the suit and he sold it to this guy, this musician from Harlem, that the other guys, they started liking it. So they started flooding to his store, and a guy came in one day and said, you know what, man, you don't got any accessories? Well, before the guy came in, he was using the restroom, and back then the commode, the tank sat up high on the pipe, and it had the little thing that you pull to flush it, right, the little chain.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it came off when he pulled it.
I see where this is going.
Yeah, so he took it, and he was going to go get a replacement one when the guy walked in to pick up his suit. So when the guy asked him, do you have any accessories to go with the suit? He took the chain, and he tied it from one end of his pants to the other. And that's how the Zoot Suit chain came out. And actually, I don't know if you ever seen Zoot Suit Cat with the Tom and Jerry.
Dude, of course. As a kid, Tom and Jerry is literally my favorite cartoon, and specifically because of the music, which led to the jazz and the dress. Yeah.
So if you watch that cartoon, look at his Zoot Suit chain. It's actually a toilet cleanser chain. Yeah.
Now I'm a.
So that's where they got. Yeah, that's where they got it from. It's actually a true story.
That's great, dude. And if you look at pictures, they're obviously 99% of the pictures are in black and white, to which would make you think that the clothing was like dark and thing. But from what I understand, it was very extravagant, very bright, like bright colors, right? You wanted to stand out.
Correct. So here's the difference between like the Pachucos and the Zoot Suiters from Harlem or New York. Mm-hmm. So the Zoot Suits from back then, from Chicago, New York and stuff, they were very flamboyant, very flashy. Mm-hmm. The guys wanted to be, the musicians wanted to stand out. So their costumes on the East Coast are actually more colorful. Ah. Versus if you look at the Zoot Suits from the Pachucos, they're a little more conservative, more traditional colors, black, gray, brown, solid colors.
Okay. Damn. Okay. Well, let's talk a little bit about the Sleepy Lagoon murder that some would say led to the Zoot Suit riots. Talk to me about what you know about the Sleepy Lagoon murder, which is weird because we're literally sitting like 3 miles away from what that used to be, and now it's just like a construction zone or something. But talk to me about that.
So the Sleepy Lagoon trial, so the tensions have been building up since way before. I mean, I think the real tension started in the 30s during when they started discriminating against the people that came here, the Mexicans basically, that they wanted to work here. But in the 30s, when the Depression came, obviously we weren't needed. So that generation there in the 1940s were coming up, and the Mexicans already had animosity. The older people, the older Mexicans, they kind of like sucked it up, and it is what it is. But not the younger people. The younger people were more rebellious. Most of them actually came from Texas, from West Texas. A lot of the families migrated to Los Angeles, specifically to East Los, from El Paso, following the Southern Pacific Railroad to find work. They actually traveled in both directions. Some of them ended up as far as Houston, Louisiana, and then along the Southern Pacific. But to get back to the subject, the tensions have been building up, and most of these kids were, I guess, rebellious. They wanted to be American, but they couldn't quite be it because they didn't really speak Spanish, they didn't really speak English. They were kind of stuck in the middle. So when these kids would go out, and party or go out and walk, they were confronted with these military guys. The United States built military bases in their neighborhoods. And some of these guys weren't even from California. They were from other states, and they didn't really belong there. And these kids were used to being in their neighborhoods. Their neighborhoods were their neighborhoods because that's where they were put. That's where they belonged. And some of these sailors would fight with them, because of racism, and because some of these sailors would actually try to hit on some of the women. So there had been confrontations going on way before, years before the Zoot Suit riots. It just happened so that on that night, when what was the guy's name? Hank Levis, him and his girlfriend, like you said, went down to the Sleepy Lagoon ravine to chill out, to make out or to whatever they were going to do there.
And the Sleepy Lagoon was a little spot, right, where there was a little like makeshift lake or whatever, and it was just people would go to barbecue and whatever, drink, and mostly Latinos would go, right? It was like a Latino hangout.
Yeah, it was actually. Yeah, it was actually on the outskirts. It was over by Downey.
It was in Maywood, where technically
Maywood,
would be Maywood, yeah.
It was, so, it was like, a little getaway site. It was a little watering hole. It wasn't really out in the middle of nowhere. So they went there and they were approached by these other kids from Downey.
Mm-hmm.
And from what I understand, they were jumped.
Downey boys, right? Downey boys, I guess some would say.
Downey boys.
Yeah.
The Downey boys. The Downey gang basically attacked them because they were their rivals. 38th Street and Downey had a long history of not getting along. So afterwards, Hank got in his car. They busted up his car pretty bad. They beat him up in front of his girlfriend. And so some say that they actually attacked her too. She was also attacked. I'm not sure about that, but these guys, Hank went back to get his homeboys from 38, and when they went back to the Sleepy Lagoon, the Downey boys were already gone. And the story says that as they were leaving, one of the guys from 38 heard music coming from across the ravine, the Sleepy Lagoon. So when the guy said, "Hey, maybe that's them, they're partying over there," so they went over there, and they were met by the people that lived there, and they were asked to leave because the people that lived there actually mistaken them for the Downey boys, because the Downey boys were actually at that party earlier causing trouble. They had gotten to some kind of fight, and from my understanding is they got into it, and when they left. Somebody was left behind, which was Jose Diaz. The body of Jose Diaz was discovered the next day, stabbed up. And, being in wartime and the propaganda and all that stuff with communism and stuff, the media just ate it up. Mm-hmm. Usually they wouldn't have made a big deal about, Mexicans killing each other or blacks killing each other, but they took the story and they ran with it. And they labeled Hank the villain, the leader of 38th Street. Which was never really proven to be honest.
And they arrested a bunch of kids, right, who ended up spending like years in big time prisons.
Yeah, they actually rounded up Filipinos, blacks, everybody that was wearing a zoot suit. Mm-hmm. They didn't really. I mean, their main target was the Mexicans, but they went around and they swept everybody up. Everybody they could, even white kids, even the white head cat kids got dragged up.
So the white kids whose zoot suits were the hep cats. I've heard that term before.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah, they were the hep cats.
Oh, okay. They would okay. And you know what? Before you continue, you mentioned Filipinos. I did come across some history with Filipino in the zoot suit that was closely related, also, right?
Yeah. The Filipinos, they them and along with the Japanese, believe it or not, they embraced that style in California.
Interesting.
The Japanese actually still have. If you go on Facebook, they actually have big clubs out there that do the lowrider thing and
I've seen that.
The jutsu thing.
They've embraced the Latino and Chicano culture big time.
Oh,
to
yeah.
where these Japanese chicks look like Brenda from down the block that I grew up with in Bell Gardens. It's
exactly.
Crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, off the record. I mean, after we get off from here, I have actually some pictures of Japanese guys in zoot suits and stuff, and the girls too. And I'd like to send them to you so you can check them out.
That's dope. Hell yeah, I want to check that out. But yeah, go ahead and continue about how they rounded up, the kids and what that led to.
Well, they accused the whole 38 group. They let all the rest of them go. I mean, but there was
I smell like
Hank and his homeboys. I guess they charged him with conspiracy, and they wanted to throw the book at him. Basically, and close the case. But Hank, being Hank, he wanted to fight it, you know. And he swore up and down, up until the day, that he passed, that he had nothing to do with it. So when they went to court, the judge and everybody there, the district attorney, they were all racist.
Mm-hmm.
And they came up with all kinds of stuff. They wouldn't let them bathe. They wouldn't let them brush their hair.
Yeah.
They wouldn't let them change their clothes. They called them, thugs, and saying that it was in their DNA to be murderers.
Mm. Damn, that's so
because of the Aztec blood that runs in them, or something like that.
That's nuts to me, man. It's crazy because
Yeah.
you're probably familiar with this also. This is just a bit off topic, and we'll jump back on. But a lot of the drug laws that are in place to this day were put in place because of Mexicans coming, to California and working and things like that, and bringing this crazy weed, this crazy tobacco that's going to make you jump out of the window and rape white women. I mean, a lot of these, and it was propaganda. So, like you said, it put a fear in white people, dude. And they were putting these kids on camera and taking pictures of them and putting them on the front of newspapers, and they're all dirty and disheveled. And America's looking at this like, see, I knew it. These Mexicans need to go back home. And that's crazy, man. I want to ask you a question. The opening scene of American Me, where the Pachuco is walking down the street with this chick, and there's some sailors, and then they end up getting into it, rumbling. Is that pretty accurate to how the excuse me, the Zoot Suit riot started?
Yes, it's actually Edward James almost actually got that down to the T. That's how it started. The rumbles between the Pachucos and the sailors have been going on. It just happened to boil over on that day. That's exactly what happened. Because the sailors have been attacked by a gang of Pachucos.
Is that how it started? Like that can be the fuse that was lit or whatever?
Yeah.
Okay.
They actually got one up on the sailors.
Okay.
Because what the Pachucos started doing, since they were outnumbered by the sailors, different gangs, different neighborhoods started, getting together and fighting against them. They started knifing them, attacking them. So there was tensions on both sides. There was egging on from both sides. They were both sides were egging on for confrontation, basically. It just happened so that that one time that they got over on the sailors had enough. They want to go, and basically get revenge.
So they went to get some of their sailor homies?
Oh, yeah. It was the sailors. It was the police. It was...
Oh, the police were whooping ass too? I mean, no surprise, but...
Yeah. And a bunch of people, I guess citizens, if you want to call them that.
Yeah.
Joined in. So they started in downtown L.A.
Mm-hmm.
So as the fighting continued, that actually started getting more people, to the point where they started going into the barrios. They started going in Chavez Ravine and stuff, Boyle Heights, looking for Mexicans or anybody else. I mean, they were looking for Mexicans in Zoot Suits, but if you were black, you were fair game. If you're Filipino, you're fair game.
Yeah.
If you're wearing a Zoot Suit, you're fair game.
Damn. And how big was this thing? I mean, because what I understand, it was like L.A. was a war zone in certain pockets.
Yeah, it was pretty big. It was thousands of people. I mean, thousands of people. There were ships that were landing in California with more people that wanted to join the fight.
Yeah.
A lot of people got hurt. They don't tell you this in any of the books, but Edward James Olmos, You know, the scene where the women get raped.
Yeah.
There was a lot of that went on, and you know, of course, they're not going to tell you about that.
Damn.
You know, they made it seem like it was just a brawl, and you know, and it was something that came and went, and it was done with, and the heroes of the day were the servicemen.
Damn, dude.
I mean, it got to the point where they actually, like you said, they none of the sailors or policemen or citizens that attacked people were ever convicted. They were let go basically, and the insult, you know, to injuries, they banned the zoot suit. You couldn't walk around L.A. in a zoot suit without getting fined or jail time.
That's crazy. There's another law that was put in place to target a specific people.
Yes. I mean, it would be like saying, hey, you can't wear skinny jeans today or something, you know, get a fine for it.
Yeah. That's nuts, dude. And this all, I guess, how long did, because there is obviously a subculture of it now, or there's still a culture of it, people keeping it alive today, and it's alive and well through social media and different groups out there. But it was seen as a fad, right? How long would you say that did it end shortly after that? Was it just like, all right, this is done, we're moving on to something else?
In certain pockets, yes, it died off, you know. In certain places, it didn't. I mean, for the most part, it did die off, and the people, you know, in the 50s, the style of the dress changed. It was the more the 50s look, the jeans, you know, the khakis with the white T-shirt, the Chuck Taylors. But in some places like El Paso, in Mexico, it never really died. Because actually, that's where it started. The Pachuco started in Ciudad Juarez and El Paso on the borderline. And they go back to as far as 1915, 1910. And back then they were. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you continue, please. I'll wait.
Yeah. No, it started way back when, you know, and back then they were called tirilis.
Okay.
It's actually the people from California that started calling them Pachucos, because when they were asked where you from, they would say, "Well, we're from Chuco," which is El Paso. And they would ask, "Well, we know we're from Pachuco. We're going to Vamos Pachuco. We're going to Chuco. We're going to El Paso." That's what actually, literally, that's what Pachuco means: a resident of El Paso.
That's dope. And what's even more dope to me, because I love music. Music is my favorite thing on the planet. Next to well, we won't get into that. But I do find it very interesting how in El Paso, or how did they pick up jazz and that influence? Were they bumping jazz like that in El Paso, or did that come from Mexico? Or explain that aspect.
A lot of people from here, from Texas, especially here in Houston, we're so close to Louisiana.
Makes sense. Yeah.
We travel back and forth because of, like I said, because of the Southern Pacific. Back then, that's how we're tied in together. That's how Texas and California and all that stuff were tied in together. That's how us Mexicans, because back then that was work. The railways, you know. So, you know, the Texas Pachucos were mostly into, I want to say, Tejano, Zydeco, whatever music was around. But when it started in the 1940s, when jazz came along, the guys just picked up the style. The Zootsie was, I guess, the style back then. Just like I would say, what's the style now? Like
skinny jeans, like you said
Levi
earlier.
jeans. Yeah, you know, that was just the style back then that they picked up. You know.
Yeah.
The Pachucos were actually around. They predate the Zoot Suit, basically.
Okay. Dude, Did
So
that?
it goes.
Go ahead.
I'm
Go ahead.
sorry.
No, you go for it. Go.
No, I was just going to say it predates. It goes way back. I mean, it goes way back. I mean, we'd be here forever talking about how far back it goes.
Yeah. Did that kind of? Because I guess if I grew up in the 80s and 90s, and baggy was the look, especially in East LA with the real baggy jeans, and then you cuff them at the bottom. Would you say that bled into the I guess, LA, East LA culture or Cholo culture or whatever the case may be?
Yeah, it actually did. I mean, it definitely did. I mean, the kids from LA picked it up and they ran with it, man. They represented it to the fullest. I mean,
Even if I may, a lot of the women, specifically with the makeup, I've seen very up close pictures of how they did the makeup back then in the Pachucas. And then if you look at, like, let's say a 1978 Chola, it was like the same type of very very extravagant, type of makeup with the silver underneath the eyes or all around the eyes, and then the black coming out, and it was very, very close to that.
The hairstyles haven't changed
That too.
Neither.
Yeah.
I mean, the women, as far as the way the women dress, I mean, the cholas now and the pachucas, it's the similar. Just actually, they're the same in, they're the same people. I mean, they're the descendants of pachucos.
Yeah. Damn, dude, that's dope, man. I really appreciate you coming on the show and sharing the history about this. Very, very interesting stuff. Do you have anything you want to plug?
No, I'm fine. I mean, I'm good.
I like that. You're one of the first people ever to have nothing to plug, and I just appreciate you just taking your time out to come and hang out, and hopefully we can talk in the future, and I'll definitely stay close in touch with you, and I'd love to talk with you in the future as well, and maybe have a part 2.
All right, guys.
Cool, man.
Right.
Yeah, perfect,
sure.
man. Well, hey, I'll talk to you soon, and then you have a great night.
Thank you.
Thank you, man.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, buddy. I love that shit, Trey. I love that shit, man. I'm a history nerd, as I've explained 1,000 times, and I can't even lie, dude. Like,
that's some crazy shit. I didn't know that happened around here.
Yeah, man. Downey, that was going down in Downey, son, and fucking right here in Maywood, dog.
I have a racist story about this house, but I'll tell you later.
About what house? No, I don't want to know about it now.
Well, the lady that sold us the house told us that because they used to rent this from the bank.
Okay.
And then when they wanted to buy it, they were like, "Oh, well, we gotta have I guess now we have to have your background," even though they rented it for years.
Yeah.
So they thought she was Mexican, and they didn't want Mexicans here in Bell. And so she was like, "I'm not Mexican. I'm Native American." So when she produced,
this was years ago, though. Like,
this is like in the 30s or 40s.
All right, keep going.
Shit. Yeah. So, sorry, I just took that dabby dab. So she told me that she had to get her birth certificate as a bitch because she's Native American, and she had to go like to Arizona or New Mexico, some shit, and she finally got it
just to buy a house.
And when she proved that she was Native American, they still didn't want to sell it to her. We're like, well, you got a boy and a girl, and there's only one bedroom. Because they didn't allow boys and girls to be in the same bedroom. So that's why we have that extension in my kitchen, because they built that extension. They didn't need permits either back in those days. They just built it. And they built that extension and had the little boy living there. And then once he moved away, they took down the wall and made it like open.
I love history like that, dude. The racist.
So this house is racist as fuck.
That's crazy, dude. Yeah, I've heard stories of stuff like that to where, they did not want Mexicans or black people moving in the neighborhood, boy. It was nah. That's when white flight happened. I mean, places like Compton, even Bell, Linwood, were all white people at one time.
I'm lucky because I'm white with green eyes. They think that I'm, one of them.
Yeah, you're cool. You're like, And Dre, what's your last name?
Espinoza?
Yeah, oh, yeah. But never mind. You can't hide that one.
I just tell them I'm Andy.
There you go.
Yo, I'm Andy. What's up?
Andy, hi. How are you? Yeah, I would think you were white. Yeah, I would think you were white. No, dude, that's a trip, man. That's really a trip. There was an old commercial. Maybe you could look it up. Type in racist rent commercial. Okay. Let's see if that pops up. Racist rent commercial. And they talk about how even up to this day they discriminate against people of color. It's basically a commercial of there's a obviously black guy calling and saying, "Hey, my name is Marcus Thompson and I'm looking for is the apartment for rent?" And then the lady would be like, "No, I'm sorry, it's not." And then there would be like a Middle Eastern guy, "Hi, my name is Habib Salamander and I want to know if the apartment is for rent." And then the white lady's like, "No, I'm sorry, it's not." Wow. And then this white guy who's obviously white calls in and says, "Hi, my name is John Smith. Is the apartment for rent?" And she says, "Why, certainly is." Fucking bitch. Oh, what's the guy's name? Okay, I can think of this. Hi, my name is Nah, I can't even think of it. Saw racist. It's a racist rent commercial. It's a radio commercial, maybe. I don't know. It's all good. You know what? I'll find it. We'll find it during the break, and then I will play it first thing when we come back because I want you guys to watch that shit and just know how racist it was, how fucking hard it was for just to buy real estate. Yeah. People were regulated. They were pushed into like Watts and in the projects and shit. I know
that's how it is now because people need to go to South LA and go to very dangerous neighborhoods now.
Yeah,
they
to buy a house.
Even the people who I want to say like they're just soft. Mm-hmm. They shouldn't be in that neighborhood. They're just soft.
They're not born.
That's the easiest way I could put it.
And they're buying homes there.
And they're buying homes there because they can't afford it nowhere else. They have to live there, and they're getting hurt. They're getting chased out.
True, dude.
My homie can't. Basically, he goes to work and comes back, and he can't really hang around his neighborhood because they tell him, you don't belong around here.
Damn, dude, that's crazy. And gentrification is something else that's huge right now. And all I'm going to tell my blacks and Latinos out there is do not sell your home. Do not sell your home. Stop getting behind on your home taxes, your property taxes and stuff like that, because what's happening is whites and Jews are coming in, they're buying your home, and now if you drive through Inglewood, where it used to be infested with Bloods and gang members everywhere, now Inglewood has like $1.5-2 million homes because of the stadium and because they're building shit around it, because white people came in and they said, see, this is how it goes, Dre. This is how it happens. See, Grandma dies, right? Grandma dies. We all loved Grandma. Grandma dies. But guess what Grandma does? Grandma leaves us a house, a nice house that's already paid for. So the house is already paid for. All we have to do is pay the property taxes and keep up with whatever, HOA fees or whatever the case is. But guess what we don't do, Dre?
No.
We don't keep up with the property taxes.
That's how people want to do it.
Or they want to sell it. Or they sell it. They're like, fuck it, I'll get $300,000. Give me that 300 bones. Boom. Then the white man and the Jewish guy, which I'm not hating on, I'm just letting you know how it really is. They come in, they buy that house, and they make 5, 7, 10 times what it's worth. They build a stadium right down the street, and now Inglewood, there's white people walking through Inglewood drinking lattes. You didn't see that 5 years ago, Dre.
And what pisses me off is that when we were buying our house, they kept telling us that this is going to be your first house. You're going to sell it and buy another one. It's like, no, motherfucker. That's for the reason why the market's shit, because of people like you.
That's what they
people
see,
like you.
He told you that. He didn't say if you were white, he would have said, what's going to happen is you're going to keep this house and you're going to buy another house. You're going to have 2 houses. Yeah. He didn't tell you that. He said you're going to sell this house because you're a poor Latino and you're a dumb Latino, and then you're going to move somewhere else, and then a white man's going to come in here, and then they're going to build the Bell Stadium right down the street, and next thing you know, watch, in 10 years, Bell's going to be all white. So keep your home, Dre. Keep it right here, because white people, you're going to be living next to white people in 10 years, and your property is going to go skyrocket. Like Listen to me, ladies and gentlemen. Do not sell your home. Keep up with your goddamn taxes.
The people probably think I'm the white person that moved in.
Like it's starting on your fucking white people. Fucking gentrification.
That fucking ass off the street.
What is his wife? Is she like Middle Eastern? I can't tell, fool. What is she, fool? She like Persian or something? I can't tell. Hey, fuck. There goes the neighborhood. Hey, Dre, give me some of that swing music, man. Pull that shit up. I forgot what it was that you pulled up last time. Do you remember what it was? That's okay. Fuck it. Let's play something that won't get. Is there anything that won't get you flagged?
Oh, everything's gonna get me flagged.
Fuck it. Let's play Palmer Squares. Right. Let's play a Palmer Squares video, and we're gonna take a little pee break. And when we get back, we're gonna chat it up with OG Leonard Brown from 190 Crip. I want you guys to hang out. We will be right back. Dusty Vision Radio, Super Audio Network.
A phenomenal grasp of grammar and the superlative command of syntax.
We take it back to glass bottles in the Coke machine. Every time I take a breath, I'm converting oxygen to propylene. In the bathroom, door locked with a decoder ring. I pop a dozen dopamine and wash them down with Ovaltine. Thaumaturgy when I drop a verse. Stalker lurking in the yard with binoculars, and I ain't watching birds. Not a person that can stop me when I get the urge to dodge a car full of officers and dart with your mama's purse. I'm not normal, but isn't normal just a question of what you're most often exposed to? In that case, normal Zoloft in a cold brew. Finna doze off in a closed coffin. Yo, I told you I'm an appropriate miscreant. Dopey and ignorant, throwing a hissy fit, but nobody gives a shit. Cold as a witch's tit, cold as a Mr. Pip, cold as the shoulder one looks over the pistol whip. Getting lit, we sniff blow cut with a pixie stick. Coronas and whiskey, I go from sober to tipsy quick. Acumenal studies, notes on arithmetic. Pro at linguistics, I can vocally split your wig. Yo, we caused the global climate to rise. While most stay blinded to lies, I keep my eye on the prize. Like Cyclops, looking hard at Ty Cobb's rookie card. High tops, hoodie, and my iPod's fully charged. That's what I'm talking about. I'm running off at the mouth. The gum flapping, tongue lashing, crackers rapping, a Dutch yapping.
Allow me to speak next, loud as a T-Rex. Hell's bells, I'm a hound dog with 3 heads, surrounded by demons, breathing heavily. I can never be beaten. Sing the sweetest melody, call me the heavenly heathen.
People find my name farthest up the roster, cause the parlance I be dropping's hot enough to strip the varnish off a locker. We harness all the power imaginable. The towering amateur flow imposters starring opposite Madeline Stowe.
When my vernacular bursts, I leave the trash at the curbside. These cats got a patch in their third eye. We hit the block and the plot till your story twist. On top, never coming off, call me Maurice Wiggs.
Trying to move from nameless to the A-list. The type of crew you'd need a noose to hang with. Truly dangerous. Hot boxes, Studebaker. Watch my hoopty shapeshift into a lunar spaceship. Super 8 shit.
I'ma crash into the pavement and turn your fast hand into a spring wrist. Losing faith in the game, we try to stay grizzly. You could call me Rudy Gay in the paint, bitch.
Another late night feeding the mogwais. Eager to watch the new season of Mob Wives. Making hits with Nathan Kids. Waking up the neighbors' kids. Yeah, they see how spooky my language is.
That's what I'm talking about. I'm running off the mouth.
The gum flapping, tongue lashing, crackers rapping, a Dutch yapping, the spooky language.
I best warn y'all to back up, lest you wanna get your flesh torn by the shrapnel. Fruity ass rappers is oranges and apples. The grown up rascal, not warm, I'm Tabasco, my babe. A big bitch way beyond blue ox. Vain journalistic, maybe I'm Lou Dobbs, term stew and beef. Craving on goulash, pockets on E. Haters on Stugatz, jazz hands, scat man, flaming hot doo-wop. Cheesy ass rappers, y'all cake the fondue pot. Who got the herb?
Nah.
Do not disturb and dead resurrected.
Stop.
Tupac Shakur. I guess what can I say that ain't been said before? If you ain't a predator, you better
Dusty Vision Radio right here on Super Audio Network, hanging out with my boy Drizzy Dre. Let's keep this party going. Keep this party going. On the line, I have a special guest hanging out with me. We're going to get into some history of Los Angeles. We're going to talk a little bit. Ladies and gentlemen, from One I Know, East Coast Black Crip, Leonard Brown. How are you?
I'm doing fine. How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. I'm doing great. Thanks for joining the show.
No problem. No problem.
Yeah. So, let's go all the way back a little bit. Explain to everyone where One I Know is kind of based and located.
Well, we're over here in Carson. In Carson, with the Lamo, it's more like on the east side, like far like Wilmington and between Wilmington and Delamo. We started off back there in let's say more like the early '70s. You know, I moved to Carson in 1972.
Okay.
And I was just seeing One Night on the walls, and you know, I said, well, hey, this must be the hood. But it's mainly basically, it's always been there. It's always been the Lamo Block Crip. It's always been like that. So therefore, you know, that's just something that it's always been. You know, it's no, you know, nothing else beyond that.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing else beyond that.
Yeah. So 72, that means they were pretty much there at the beginning of Crippin'.
It was already there, yeah. It was already there, yeah.
Yeah. So how old were you when you got put on?
Well, basically, it works more like this. My days of coming up, it wasn't no putting you on. It wasn't no, you know, rat packing and you got to go out there and beat somebody down or steal something to get on the set. You just from there. If you grew up out there, you from the set. So I didn't start really getting active until I was more like 13.
Okay, which is what year are we talking about?
We're talking about 75.
Okay. Yeah, so we are definitely talking to an OG, ladies and gentlemen. Somebody who is going to definitely give us some real history, not some BS that you hear on the internet. Now, tell me about the day that you were officially, okay, this is it, I'm from the hood, let's go.
Okay, Okay, the day that I was especially from the hood.
Yeah. Like how? Like,
okay,
yeah.
well,
how did you know? Like you're all right, you're officially 190. Like you say, you didn't get jumped in, but how does one know that? All right, it's official. It's a done deal.
well, okay, well, see, it's more like there's usually more like a bunch of us out there kicking it already. Let's say about 5 or 6 or 7, 8 of us out there. We just out there doing our thing, you know. And then we got the older homeboys that's already with it. You know, so they doing their thing. Like I had an older brother, which was his name was Big CZ, you know, and we had all my little homeboys. We all had older brothers. See, back in those days, we took names after our brothers. Like it was Big CZ, Little CZ, Big RT, Little RT, you know, and so forth and so on. So therefore, we was more like following them. At the same time, we was kicking back doing our own thing. But as they was out there kicking up dust with the other neighborhoods, we'd be on the sidelines, and we're more like, you know, well, hey, they doing their thing, but then we just come up behind them and can take up the slack. Like if they was gonna fight somebody, like I said, mainly back then it was more like fighting. It was like fist to fist. There wasn't no gunplay.
Mm-hmm.
You know, gunplay was very sudden, but gunplay was very, you know, weak back then. You know, if you had somebody shooting at somebody, it had to be something real serious.
Okay.
You know, we called busting on your pad. That was more like we would ride by, shoot up in the air, and that was most of the gunplay we had. As far as shooting at somebody, we shot somebody. It was something real, very, very serious, and basically we just more like we was more like hand-to-hand combat. But more like that was back in 77, 76. We was more like, hey, you know, we was out there doing our thing. You know, we started with carrying our rags. You know, was that Stacey Adams? You know, painter pants. You know, Monte Carlo shirts. You know, Ace Deuce hats, all that type of stuff. We was doing our thing back in 77, but it's more like we just more like followed them. At the same time, we was more on the, you know, took up the slack on what they did. If they fought somebody at school, we'd go up there and beat up the little brothers or something like that. That's how we done it. It was mainly fist fighting, and it wasn't as serious as it is right now today.
Explain to us how you guys ended up under the neighborhood umbrella, which the block umbrella, how that whole thing goes, the East Coast umbrella, right? Isn't that one umbrella that you guys are all under?
Okay, now, I got out of juvenile camp in 1979. When I got out of juvenile camp, I had a few brothers who started 190 East Coast already. You know, Randy Scott, Pitbull, Lamont Whitehead. Those are the guys who officially, I know, started 190 East Coast. Mm-hmm. Because we were still doing something like Leadership Gangster Player. So when we came back, it was more like 190 East Coast. I'm like, East Coast, East Coast, East Coast. So that was back in 1979. So I was like, man, what is this East Coast? So it just like simmered down and blended in. Next thing I know, it was like First Street, what's that? 659, 6 News, 68, all the coasts. We was all as one. Mm-hmm. So it was more like, you know, what you call that? We was more like, you know, all as we became one. That was in 79.
Okay.
We became one. It was kind of difficult. It was difficult because we was from Carson. We didn't know everybody in L.A. You know, we branched out a little bit. But that's how it just came about one day, and next thing I know, hey, you know, we're one now. We was one big old set.
Oh, okay. And whether you guys, you know, get along with them, I know, or not, what are some of the hoods in the city of Carson?
Okay, now as far as the hood in Carson, we got Delamo Block. That's us, 190 East Coast. We're surrounded by the Cabbage Patch, which is Bloods. We're surrounded by Centerview, which is Bloods. We're surrounded by Scottsdale, which is Bloods. Then you got the essays. So we're basically surrounded. Mm-hmm. If there's anything new out there, we don't know. But as far as our high schools, we were all surrounded by Bloods out there, too, which was the Pain Boys back in the day. Right now, I believe they're Ghost Town.
Okay.
We were surrounded with those. See, that was Wilmington. As far as Carson alone, it's the Lamo Block. We got Centerview. We got the Cabbage Patch. We got now those are the three hoods right there. Mm-hmm. Us, Centerview, and the Cabbage Patch. We're in the middle of all of that right there.
Okay. Speaking of the Latino gangs, when I'm assuming that they're at war like they are in every other, big city in Southern California. But what was the relationship like, or how did that kind of start when they started moving into Carson, or were they already there when you were there?
Okay, now BP with Victoria Park, they was always there. Then they got Carson 13, they're a little further up by the Carson Sheriff Station. And they got Keystone, they're over there somewhere. I don't know exactly where they at. But see, all these guys, we went to elementary, went to junior high school with them. And so as far as BP, those are the hoods that mainly my hood be kicking up dust with. And see now, but see, personally, I know those guys. I went to school with them. We played baseball together, all of that. So we was all friends at one time. But to this day, I still may see someone shake their hand and we chop it up. And these new generations, they still going at it. Oh, excuse me, I left out one hood, Farmer Stevenson Village. That's another one. Stevenson Village Crypt. That's another one. But anyway, see, so therefore, for VP, as far as the SA neighborhood, we was more like cool. We went to school with those guys. But it's the new generation that kind of like chop things up a little bit. Kind of made things a little tough to where they start blasting on each other and shooting to Uncle B. As far as us back in the day, we got along with VP. I knew those guys. We went to school together. We would see them out there. We worked together and stuff like that,
Now, Carson has a bigger than normal Samoan population, right?
Okay, now Samoans, they was basically in Scottsdale. I mean, not in Scottsdale. They're by Scottsdale, and they're more like in the Wilmington area, more close to Banny High. So they was basically in Scottsdale. As far as Delamo, we didn't have too many of them in Delamo. Samoa was more like Scottsdale, as far as Wilmington and so forth. Yeah, we had a few of them out there, though, yeah. They're still out there to this day, yeah.
Okay. I wonder why that is. I guess they just, for whatever reason, just congregated to that area when they came from the island or whatever. Do you know anything about why it's so concentrated right there? Because Long Beach was like that, too, which is where I grew up.
I don't know, man. Samoans are funny. They stick together like glue for one thing.
Man, right?
And they all cousins. So you fight one, you fighting the whole family.
They're nice as hell, though, right? They're nice as hell. And then just
man,
don't mess with
cool.
my family.
Yeah, man. Mama, daddy, brother, everybody gonna come out and beat the hell out of it. I seen them guys kick up some dust one day at Carson 20 Cinema like it was going out of style.
Oh, word.
They're throwing trash cans, you name it. I just came back, and they strong.
Mm-hmm.
They're not like regular human beings. Don't go underestimate them. They must be strong brothers. They extra strong. They're some strong, but they cool though.
Yeah.
You don't bother them. They don't bother. But they close knit. They're very close knit. And basically all of them basically are related in some kind of way.
Mm-hmm.
Somehow they're related. Believe me.
Yeah. Well, let's see. We're talking the 80s when it was going down. I mean, L.A. is nothing compared to what it was in the 80s and 90s when you and I were growing up. I mean, even in the 90s, fast forwarding a bit, in early 90s, we had upwards of almost 2,000 murders in 1 year. But even going before that, how did crack cocaine change Carson?
Oh, man. Okay. It was okay. Okay, and let's talk about back in 1980.
Mm-hmm.
We were still on Sharon.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then I had homies that was coming outside talking about the rocks. I'm like, what the hell's a little rock? A little white rock? It's like somebody put a slingshot and shoot at somebody. How did it change it? It changed it tremendously. I have never seen young pretty sisters do the things that they did.
Yeah.
The ones that was hard to get. The ones that turn their nose up at you. You give them $5, bam, they do whatever. Women stop caring about their kids. They just neglected everything. It was bad. But then you got these young brothers rolling around in Benzes, big old pocket full of money. Everybody was rolling, balling back there. Either you was balling or you was smoking.
Yeah.
So it did some serious damage to the race back there. Some serious damage. And
it obviously brought gunplay into the mix that we've never seen before, I'm assuming.
Oh yeah, because everybody was about their money. Everybody was about their money and their dough. Everybody was there. Everybody was either doing one thing. It was either smoking or they was slanking. So in the slangers, they was about they was gangsters. They was with it. You know, they didn't and none of that homie stuff, that game making stuff just played out. It was all about their money back then. You know, but it was a trip. It was a trip. It was a whole different scenario than what you see right now. I mean, people had things. People was happy. Mm-hmm. Mothers and fathers and kids, they was all wearing nice clothes. Everybody was just cool back then. But you also had the bass heads, the crackheads, the smokers, walking around dirty, wearing the same clothes every day, doing whatever they can to get a hit. So it was a cold scenario back then, a cold scenario.
Did that bring more of the drive-by element into it as well? Because I know back in the 70s, drive-bys were almost unheard of. You know, like you said, it would really have to be something serious. You just shoot in the air, but did that bring the drive-by element into it?
Well, drive-bys was really already in the mix. It just wasn't as rapid. It just wasn't as popular as, it became. The first drive-by I remember was back in, let's say, 77. Because I had moved over here in Mount Vernon. I went to Mount Vernon Junior High. There was a party over there, and some kid got caught up. Somebody drove by and shot at it. So as far as the drive-bys have always been. But, as far as the dope game itself, it had nothing to do with that. They were just, that was just something that was just like I said, it wasn't as big as it was. Guys was doing drive-bys as far as games, period. As far as the dope game, it was more like, hey, they walk up to you and get you. Mm. Dope was more serious back then. Yeah. If they want to get you behind some dope, they didn't drive up on you, they walk up to you. Mm.
So
that's the case.
Go ahead, keep going.
Case of the jumps off. Go ahead.
No, go
ahead. The jumps off. I ain't gonna mention no names and nothing like that. But hey, it was some serious mess behind that dope. They rolled up and killed women, kids, you name it. Families. Sitting in their cars. Wrong people, the wrong mistaken identities. There was some serious stuff going on right there.
Damn.
Yeah.
When was it most active in the city of Carson? What years? From what to what year would you say?
Okay, now the most active. Okay. Let's say more like the 80s. 81. Okay. 82, 83, 84, 85, and 86. Okay. Because I left the hood in 87. I went to 10 in 87. When I got back out, everything changed.
How so?
So more like when everything changes, when I got back, everybody was gone. So I went to the pen like in 87. Okay, I got out in 88. I went back in 89. I got out in 90. Mm-hmm. I went back in 90. I went back in 94. I got out 2004.
Damn,
so therefore, I lost time. I did 9.5. Oh yeah, and I still couldn't believe it. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So when I got out after that, it was no more. It was really no more. But as far as the early 80s, that's when everything was really jumping off. We had the true homeboys out there, the real homeboys that was out there. Which when I got back, a lot of them was gone. A lot of them was doing time. Some of them got life. So therefore, it was nobody to really keep a structure going like we had back then. Because see, we had a structure going so good back then, man, to where on the weekends we had barbecues. We had the girls out there with us. We had it jumping off. We had it going on. When I got back out, all that was gone. It wasn't no more of that. That just disintegrated. Everybody moved away, and a bunch of them were doing time. Some of them come rest in peace. Some of them, just took off. Mm. More like the early 80s was our time right there.
Yeah. Now let's go. We're talking early 80s, mid 80s, when a thing called gangster rap came out and was the biggest thing in the world. Ice-T, 6 in the Morning, Schoolie D, NWA, obviously. You were banging real hard at this time. What were your thoughts of gangster rap and these guys who were not really living that life, but they were talking about it?
So think about this, partner, is this. When you're into that life, you can look at somebody and tell if they're real. Mm-hmm. You can basically just see their movements, the way they walk, the way they talk, their demeanor. You can tell what they're about. And as far as those guys, you can give them a second thought. As far as that rap music, it was more like, see, you got to realize, we came up on Marvin Gaye, Tammy Terrell, Al Green. We came up on that type of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Temptations, that's what we came up on, you know. So as the new wave thing came in, we were still stuck into our old ways. I'm talking about us. Now, my homies is more like in their 50s right now. So it's a difference, you know. As far as that new way, that new rap stuff, I mean, we liked it Ice Cube because he was talking the truth. You know, Public Enemy, some of those guys, we liked those guys right there. But all this other stuff right there, it was more like, man, go on with that mess. They don't want to hear all that stuff. I'm not trying to diss nobody, but we came up at a time where everybody was real.
Yeah.
If you wasn't real, then hey, you can start you don't exist. You don't exist to us.
Yeah.
You know, that's how we seen that. You know, yeah.
Yeah. All right, 80s, 88, we're talking specifically, one of my favorite movies of all. My mom would not let my stepdad take me to see it. I had to wait till it came out on VHS in the privacy of my own home and the safety, I guess, as you would say. But a movie called Colors came out and exposed the world to what was going on in Los Angeles. How important would you say Colors was to spreading Bloods and Crips across the country?
Okay, now Colors. Okay. First of all, some of that stuff in there, you know, was real. You know, but as far as the way they made the county jail look, that was not real.
How so? Explain that part.
I mean, they not gonna put a bunch of Bloods in there. First of all, county jail don't have no weights. They had they had Aaron back in the 80s. Yeah, they did on the roof.
Okay.
But they ain't gonna put no Bloods up there, and he gonna be on a bench, and they gonna come out just beat him down. It don't work like that. You know, and they ain't gonna have a bunch of Crips on one side, Bloods on the other side, and some gate going at it. That part does not exist in the jail.
That was my favorite part too.
Yeah, that does not exist in the jail. You know.
Yeah.
You know, therefore, all that right there. You know, but as far as the drive-bys, you know, with Rocket and all them type of guys, you know, that part, you know, can happen. It did happen back in the day. But as far as that last part, where the Mexicans was shooting at Rocket them in that house in Compton, it did look like Compton to me. You know, that right there, you know, no, that wouldn't have went down like that, though. You know, they wouldn't have been in one little house, you know, hiding out, waiting for somebody to come by there. No, that wouldn't have went down like that. And the essays come by there, shoot them up. No, it just put more props on the essays. Maybe like they want to keep them more dust. It don't work like that. You know, so therefore, it was more like to just advance one group to another. To make it look like, you know, we the ones calling the shots. We the ones doing this. They don't work like that at all.
Okay. Let's fast forward a few years, 92 or 93, I can't think off the top of my head, but there was a big gang truce, the Watts gang truce, and it led to little other truces around L.A. that lasted for like 5 minutes or whatever, but it was a step in the right direction. Take me to the time that you remember specifically about, you know, just the Rodney King incident that led to the riots, that led to the gang truce. What was going on in Carson around that time?
Okay, now, Carson was quiet. Carson's always been quiet. A lot of the truths was more like in Watts and L.A. and all that. Because I kicked it over there on 74th in the Hoover neighborhood for a time. I went over there to their little park over there on Manchester, and they all of that dancing and partying and stuff like that, but they was all having their truths back here. As far as my hood alone, we was more like on the quiet side. See, when Rodney King thing jumped off, it was more like on the outskirts of us. Because, see, Carson really sits by itself. As you notice, they got to say in 1-9 only. Carson really sits by itself, so when that truth was jumping off there, you know, it really didn't affect us one way or the other. We didn't really care about it. We wasn't really into it. We just more like, we just doing our thing. You know, but the truth was more like for the most serious things that was going on in other like Watts and Compton, LA, and all that. That's what the truth really had its benefits right there.
Yeah, that's funny that you said that because my uncle bought a house in Carson years ago. You know, 20s, probably even 30 years ago, and I remember us where we lived at the time wasn't a nice area, but we saw Carson as, oh, he's moving to a nice neighborhood. Like, we always saw Carson as like, oh, damn, you moved up, huh? Okay.
Yeah. Everybody thinks Carson is the rich place. Well, the rich Crips, they call it the rich Crips. It's
Oh,
called
okay. Interesting.
It's
Yeah.
a nice area, true enough, but they have some dark sides to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Some real dark side. I can take you back to the '60s where there's some things that went down that they don't know nothing about. Yeah, they got some dark sides, real dark sides to it.
Yeah, definitely. Mm-hmm. Every city has that. I want to fast forward to something recent. You being an OG, you being past that life, but it's still something that I guess affects everyone. But I want to know your specific thoughts on Nipsey Hussle and the whole shooting and killing of Nipsey Hussle.
Oh man, you know what? I didn't really know of him until the day it happened. But to this day, I hate it. I hate it with a passion due to the fact that was a young brother, and there was a lot of he could have done for his homies and the community. And for somebody to just take him out like that, they didn't just destroy him. They destroyed a lot of opportunities for a lot of blacks that tried to have no way out. Because he was helping guys that just got the penitentiary. When you got a pen, man, it's tough out there. Nobody want to hire you. Nobody really give a damn about you.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, that kind of hit me. It hurt me because all at one time I just found out what he was about, and it was like, man, why? That was it just didn't have to be. So therefore, it kind of hit me kind of hard. It hurt. It hurt.
Yeah, that was a tough time. And something that's also recent, I know you don't keep up, I'm assuming you don't keep up with all the hip-hop that's going on, but I'm pretty sure you know about this story because it was probably the biggest story in the past year in hip-hop. Are you familiar with Tekashi 6ix9ine?
Who's that?
Are you familiar with Tekashi 6ix9ine?
Well, I've seen bits and pieces of that little dude, but...
The story behind him? Are you familiar with the story behind him?
I don't know nothing about him. He just looks stupid to me.
Okay, well let me explain him to you, and then that'll give you a better idea to answer the question. So he was basically bought into the Bloods. The Bloods, accepted him because they saw this little superstar here, and he was somewhat extorted. And I know that's been going on in hip hop, back to when even Biggie was aligning himself with the Southside Crips, and Tupac was aligning himself with the M.O.B., and Chris Brown aligning himself with Fruittown, and all these other guys aligning themselves with Crips and Bloods after they're already famous. But that's his whole story. He became a Blood, I guess, for show, and then he got involved in a bunch of crimes, and he snitched on everybody. They did a bunch of years, and he's going to be out in July. So that's a rundown of Tekashi 6ix9ine. So based on your whole life as putting real work in the hood, spending time in jail, what are your thoughts on someone like him?
Well, first of all, he was stupid. Second of all, he messed up his life and any chance of doing anything with his life. Third of all, if he don't shake LA, they're going to get it. That's the bottom line. They're going to send their soldiers after him, and that's the way it goes. Mm-hmm. But what he did was not right. So he got all these tattoos on his face, he can't hide himself. He can forget about that. He just messed his life off. I mean, he best just go somewhere and live like Grizzly Adams somewhere in the wilderness where nobody know who he is.
Yeah.
Stay and hide for the rest of his life. Somebody gonna get it.
Yeah.
So, that was kind of dumb. You don't do no stuff like that.
Yeah.
And in fact, you don't get involved with known gang members unless you grew up in that area, unless you know these people. You don't just join nothing at the age of 20-something years old. You don't do that. Anybody get themselves caught up with a gang at an later age, they're kind of stupid. You better say read those books and do what you've been doing. Yeah.
Yeah, I always like to play devil's advocate, and I think the gang is just as much at fault that they shouldn't have allowed a dude like this with no background check, just to get this close to them and infiltrate and told everything.
Yeah, no, when you're really into it, man, it's like us, right? We didn't let nobody just come with us. If we didn't know you from knee high, I'm talking about from elementary school, you wasn't one of us. And to this day, you're still not one of us. All my homies I knew for 30, 40, 50-something years. If I ain't know you that long, you ain't considered a homeboy. You're just a partner, an associate, something like that. But I won't trust you. If I didn't grow up with you, if I didn't go to Broad Acres Elementary School with you, Curtis Junior High, batting eye with you, I don't really know you. I just heard of you. You're just somebody, okay, we cool, how you doing, partner? Yeah, shake up and dust, whatever. Other than that, I don't really know you.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way it works, man.
Yeah.
Can't trust nobody these days. That's the way it really works.
Yeah. I want to ask one more question, and then I'll let you enjoy the rest of your night. But you spent a 9.5-year stretch in prison. Explain to people what it's like being a Crip. I'm assuming you were still banging at that time. If not, correct me. But, being a Crip, entering prison, how does that work? How do you link up with other Crips? Like, Crips and Bloods, are you guys just hanging out? Explain to, everyone out there what it's like just walking into prison, being a Crip.
Well, first of all, of course, convicts run the pen. Mm-hmm. Before you hit the yard, everybody gonna know that you're already there. So you hit the yard, your homie's walking up to you, handing you this, handing you that, giving you care package, this and that. Mm. As far as your question alone, you're already known once you hit the yard. Everybody already know who you are, everybody already know about you, everybody know what set you from. So therefore, you're all the way in. Now, if you got some kind of beef with somebody, listen, maybe your enemies over there, we got to have it. Other than that, it's just like more like, everybody's going to embrace you. Now, as far as the pen has a stronger structure than the streets. We don't really trip on Bloods. We don't trip on Red Rads. I got some Damus on my Facebook page that's got some high rank in what they do. Mm-hmm. So we're more like brothers in there. We're not on that red blue chicken there. We're on the more like a black man thing, because if something's up off, I might have a Damu to watch my back, or I might be watching this.
You have to unite, because the Latinos have it locked down when it comes to number-wise, right?
Yeah, exactly. So then we got the guys from up north. We got the guys from other Crips that's more like Riverside and so forth. So we just all got to be as one. We're not really on that section thing, and we're not really on it. We all represent what we represent, but we're as one in there. We're all black men as one in the head. He's just one.
Okay, yeah. Now, thank you, Leonard, for sharing your story. Do you have anything you want to plug? Anything coming up that we can help you promote?
Well, not really, man. You kind of caught me at a time when I'm like, okay, let me think of what I'm gonna say. Make sure I don't, go off on a deep and say the wrong thing. So, it's all good, but I just want to make sure my thing is right, and hopefully I can, assist you guys in the best way possible.
Yeah, no, that was great. That was great, because my thing with my show is I don't like to glorify gangs. I just want to educate people, tell them the story that this is really going out. And my thing is I don't like to interview anyone under 40. If you're under 40, I don't want to talk to you. No offense, but 40 and over, is the people I want to talk to, because you guys made it through. You know what I mean? I don't want to talk to the people who are going through it right now. I don't want to talk to the ones that are going through it right now. I want to talk to the ones who made it through, and let these kids know that keep your stuff together, and there is hope on the other side. Have you ever thought about, and people think I have some issue with these guys or anything, but Alex Alonso and Kev Mack videos, they're my idols. I really enjoy their stuff, contrary to what a lot of people, for whatever reason, think out there. But have they ever approached you? Because I really think you have a story to tell. Have they ever approached you?
Well, not really. No. Only way somebody would know me if they see my Facebook post.
Can I possibly make the connection? Because I do have a connection to both of them, and I think your story needs to get out there. You know what I mean? Would you be okay if I did that?
Yeah, be my guest. No problem.
Okay.
Man, no problem.
Yeah, cool, for sure. Well, thank you, Leonard. It was a pleasure talking to you. Have a great night, and I'll definitely be close in touch with you, okay?
Okay, no problem.
All right, man. Take care.
You too. All right.
Yeah, man. Whew. These OGs, man, because I was never, about that street life, but I had so many people around me that were. Bloods, Crips, Cholos.
Goddamn.
Fucking tranny. Wait.
Oh, I lived in Cudahy, so when I was growing up, so that was pretty crazy.
Yeah, Cudahy was, you know what? I was in Bell Gardens, and for whatever reason, we were kind of afraid to go into Cudahy.
I was afraid to go
Maywood.
to
Cudahy and Maywood. We
Yeah.
were like, damn, nah, dog, listen. We would go into Commerce. We would go into, I'm giving up where we grew up. Ladies, me and Dre grew up kind of in the same area. We went to Commerce. We would go to, other places. Bell, I'd come to Bell gladly. But, man, for whatever reason, we didn't mess with Cudahy and Maywood. We just already went down.
Nope. I still don't mess with Cudahy or Maywood.
That's where you saw, if my memory serves me correct, someone... You didn't see them get shot, but you saw the aftermath of them getting shot.
I saw him bleeding on the floor when I was a kid. That's pretty crazy.
Tell that story again.
Well, no, I was at my homie's house for playing Clue, and then I don't know what the fuck happened, but we had to rush over to somebody else's house. When we went over there, the dude was like, laying on the ground, and I just remember seeing blood everywhere, and the dude like just fucking screaming, and people freaking out, and it freaked me. It scared the shit out of me, and I was like, "What the fuck?" And apparently, he just got shot right outside, right up front. I don't know. I don't think he was a gang member. I don't remember, but I mean, I'm like, damn, we play out front all the time.
Damn,
we play out front all the time.
Damn,
and the dude was just shot out front right now.
Yeah, man, it was going down, guys. You don't know what it was like in L.A. in the '90s. It was cracking, like super cracking, scary shit. But we made it through, man, and look at us now.
Yeah,
we're in. What did the comedian call it? We're in the
gay Chuck E. Cheese.
We're doing a show out of the gay Chuck E. Cheese.
Yay!
Oh, I love that, man. I love that.
That was the best show ever, man.
This is definitely a pleasure of mine. And yeah, definitely check out the Unopened Mic 5 on the Super Audio Network archives. Yeah. Make sure you check out my show every single Thursday right here on Super Audio Network, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. That means California. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're in New York, it means 10 a.m. Please support
10 a.m. or 10 p.m.?
10 p.m. See, that's why I'm messing people up.
I was like, wait a minute.
That's why I'm messing people up. You caught it, Dre. Good job.
All right.
But yes, no, dude. Yeah, thank you. And support all the other shows on the channel, please. All the other dope shows we have. We have some funny ass shows, and we have something, for everyone. So please check us out, Super Audio Network, superaudionetwork.com, Dusty Vision Radio. I will see you next Thursday. Peace.